Hey guys, I'm Dov, and today I'm back with more Total War Warhammer 2 online action, and would you look at that cute cuddly manticore. Ugh, those teeth though. Brush your teeth, boy. Anyway, we're back today with Norsca versus Dwarfs. For those of you who watched one of my recent streams, this is a battle I fought versus a move hacker. And it was such an epic battle, I figured I would bring it to you all who tend not to watch the streams. I know the streams do get a little bit lower viewership even after the fact, so for those of you who don't want to necessarily have to sift through the whole streams, or the whole stream rather, here it is. So we've got a whole line of Marauders mixed with champions here, 2 champions and 4 Marauders. We've got the 2 Distraction Manticores and Feral Mammoth, Wolfric on a Chariot, a Shaman Sorcerer Lore of Fire on a Chariot, and 2 Marauder Chariots. We've got 4 Miners in Vanguard who are immediately going to get eaten by Manticores here, and these Manticores are just coming in to do some damage. They'll do very well against the Miners. Despite their lack of AP, Miners just have trash stats. Despite the Manticore's lack of AP, that is. The Miners have such trash stats that they'll be able to do some work, maybe terrify away a couple of units there. You can see some Slayers and Dwarf Warriors responding. We've got a Lord on foot. Very cheap kit. I know Amu Packer is a big fan. We've got Rangers, plenty of Thunderers as well, some Dragonback Slayers protecting the rear also. Dwarf Warriors, I'm going to be guessing mixed with Longbeards. Yep, you can see I'm going to pull the Manticores back up in the air as the range units start to come into range. I obviously don't want to take fire from those Thunderers to get the Manticores enraged, so I am going to pull back before they do so. The Feral Mammoth, on the other hand, is punching through in the center, just going all in and trying to be a bit of a line breaker here. That's kind of the role of the Mammoth in this situation. You can see the Chariots also coming in, so I was presenting all of these large targets more or less at the same time, so my opponent was going to have to pick and choose what he was going to shoot at. And you can see here, Wolfric is going to just about get through the lines. Unfortunately, he does get a little bit distracted there, but those Dwarf Warriors who come to surround will take a bit of damage. You can see the Chariots also pushing through. The Manticore, unfortunately, this one did get enraged to drop down in combat, so I'm not going to be able to micro it. But over here, we dropped an Overcast Flamestorm. I'm going to rip through some of those Miners. Does a ton of damage to these Slayers as well. Takes out quite a few models and just sits on top of that unit for quite some time. So that was a pretty good Flamestorm. RNG's is favoring me a little bit there. But yeah, Feral Manticore pushing through. And these Thunderers are going to start to pull back, obviously. Amu doing a great job trying to keep his missile units disengaged as much as possible. Likewise, I'm keeping the Shaman Sorcerer just in this back line, constantly cycle charging, ping-ponging between various missile units. The Marauder Horsemen, that I failed to mention earlier, haven't really contributed much. They've just been trying to bog down missile units and mostly failing. Over here, getting dragged down by Longbeards, but you can see I have been able to punch through in certain pockets here. Dropped a little bit of a Sea Fang across these Slayers here, did some good damage, but yeah, these Marauders pushing through, able to tie down the Thunderers, and even though these Marauder Horsemen are being routed off, again, the missile units, we're trying to keep them occupied as much as possible. Meanwhile, the Champions and the regular Marauders here, with the support of the Chariots and Wolfric, obviously going to do quite well. Those Dwarf Warriors are routed off there. And we're going to continue to kind of take in a high-level view of the battle. You can see those Thunders opening up on that Feral Mammoth. Does enrage it. I wasn't microing it super well there, but the enrage is going to be favorable because this is probably what I was going to do anyways, go rear charge these Longbeards, try and get in some damage before that Mammoth drops. I could try and come back and tie down these missile units, but rather than using the Mammoth for that, I'm going to bring the Chariots over and swing over to this flank with Wolfric. He's going to punch through those Rangers. The Shaman Sorcerer also coming through. So yeah, the characters on Chariots for Norsca, very, very good against the Dwarves and other heavy infantry factions. Obviously, a bit riskier against other factions because they can potentially bring their own high mass units to stop you up. But nonetheless, against the Dwarves, Chariots are generally very good picks, and you know, having the 2 characters on Chariots plus the 3 monsters plus the 2 units of Chariots and a few durable infantry. I mean, these champions are certainly not pushovers, and they can do quite a bit of damage. The regular Marauders, if properly supported, will do perfectly fine as well. You can see Dragonback Slayers, regular Slayers, Dragonbacks are mixed in here as well, it looks like, are having to be pushed in against Marauders and these champions here, which is just not cost efficient at all. They'll do quite well against the regular Marauders. Not going to be super cost effective, but they'll do well. But the champions, on the other hand, will do very well at countering the Slayers, and it's going to be a very tough trade there for them. So the fact that I can kind of force them into that situation, very favorable. You can see over here another Flamestorm being dropped as this Manticore sort of forced up a bit of a blob here. We're going to use that Flamestorm to punish that. Doesn't do the most damage in the world, but it did do a little bit of damage. Let's see, where's that Shaman Sorcerer? He is over here. He's up to 105 kills, so not too bad with the Chariot and the spells. Wolfric continuing to pull around as well. He's up to 83. This Manticore very low on leadership, but still can come in, get a nice disruption charge here, and potentially terrify away some of these units, maybe? Nope, looks like the Dawi leadership is going to be able to hold up before the Manticore in fact routes. In fact, actually, those Thunders do get terrified, so a little bit of a trade there, and you can see these Marauders running in, axes out to meet the Dawi headlong here. Very cool cinematic charge. And Wolfric and his Shaman buddy continuing to do their thing, just run around, and we've got these champions here who, a little bit of miss micro on my part, just kind of standing around, going to get surrounded, but I mean, they'll do fine against these Miners and Dwarf Warriors and so on, as long as we can keep these missile units bogged down as much as possible. Over here, this unit of Marauders got a little bit isolated and dragged down by some regrouping Dawi, but we do still have some champions fighting here as well. They are cutting up these Longbeards quite efficiently. The stats are actually pretty even, but my guess is with the Enrage up, these Marauder champions are going to start to get more and more powerful as the fight goes on. You can see they're at the first stage of Rage there, and so they should be building up now the extra physical resistance and so on. A bit of a rear charge here, so they are in a bit of trouble now, but they should be able to hold out for some time. They're a pretty solid defensive unit. And same deal in the center. These Chariots continuing to ride through. At this point, the Slayers have come over and are trying to finish off these Chariots. The two units of Chariots have also been finished off at this point. You can see the Mammoth and the Manticores are running the field. We use that Sea Fang on the Slayers because they're lower armor, but unfortunately that Shaman Sorcerer just takes a ton of damage there from the Lord and from those Slayers. He's in a little bit of a rough situation, but these champions over on this flank here are just pushing through hard right now. They are cleaning up Thunders, they're starting to clean up some Dwarf Warriors, so the fact that they're so healthy in this late game, and they can still take advantage of that Rage, which is now at its full effect. You can see they've got physical resistance, extra melee attack, extra leadership. They'll be able to be quite potent in this kind of dragging out late game situation, and I find that the Enrage, a lot of Norscan units don't really hold up long enough for the Enrage to really be super effective, but the champions, you can see the champions here are just about fully surrounded by Dwarves, and they are still continuing to just fight tooth and nail, even giving the Dawi leadership a run for its money here. So yeah, I'm a big fan of the champions, the shielded variant at least. I think the great weapon variant aren't quite as cost effective. These guys, because of their good melee defense, and that Enrage just it synergizes with that high melee defense very well. Because they can hold out and get, the full benefit of that Enrage, whereas other Norscan units maybe not so much. You can see these champions here cleaning up some tattered Dwarf Warriors. The Shaman Sorcerer took a face full of bullets and routed, but Wolfric, of course, still online, and I'm surprised Wolfric does get a missile block chance on his Chariot. I guess it makes sense. He's got this massive shield here, and despite the fact it's clipping through his friend's head, the driver there, it, in fact, theoretically could shield both of them. I mean, it is a very large shield, so yeah, makes sense. The Chariot with the missile block chance. But yeah, Dwarf Warriors and Longbeards here getting a little bit cleaned up. Some regrouped Marauders had come in relatively full health that had been over here chasing some other routing units and got a nice rear charge, able to bail out these champions, and of course Wolfric supporting with the Chariot as well. Going to be able to also come in and do some good armor-piercing damage. Nice drive-by swing there for Wolfric. And another on the other side. Wow, he's got a quick attack interval there. Yeah, that's going to be the end of most of those Dwarven infantry here. We do still have some Thunders fighting online. These champions who are still just trying to push up this other side here. Just fighting in the absolute pits, covered head to toe in blood, as, Marauders, I'm sure, love to be. But yeah, they're going to just continue pushing through to the various Dawi lines here, and the Slayer's going to make their last stand. Again, not the most cost-efficient trade against champions, but yeah, they're going to get in here, do a bit of belly flops, and ooh, the lethal belly flop there. But here comes Sea Fang again, going to try and go down the line of Slayers here. It looks like might have finished off a couple of those Thunders. Did in fact rout them. But yeah, that's going to pretty much be it for the Dawi in the late game here. The balance power is pretty out of reach for them. You can see some units are going to regroup over here, but with Hunter of Champions on the Lord now, he's going to run in. But his stats are significantly debuffed, and the champion should be able to get in here and start to work on him a little bit. Despite the lack of AP, he's down to 90 armor, and only 15 melee defense. going to take a charge from Wulfric there as well. Obviously, that'll do some damage. But, yeah, that Hunter of Champions, the armor sundering in particular, it looks like it already dropped, unfortunately. But that does help these non-AP champions trade a bit more effectively. And how about that? 153 kills up to an XP Chevron. For those champions. For these other champions, 154 and an XP Chevron. So yeah, some very impressive work done. And very well played to my opponent as well. It was a super close battle in the late game there. Really just Wulfric and those champions just grinding it out in the late game. You can see 191 kills for Wulfric on the Chariot. Just absolutely a powerhouse in this particular matchup. It does AP, anti-infantry. You have the Sea Fang. You have some good AoE buffs as well. He also has a missile block chance, which is not, I mean, that's not insignificant. I think he might be the only Chariot in the game with a missile block chance. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but those of you who are eagle-eyed can go check through the stats of the various Chariot lords and let me know, but I think he might be the only Chariot with a missile block chance, which is actually very pertinent in this specific matchup, so very good stuff. 142 for the Shaman Sorcerer. Flamestorms did pretty decently. Sometimes you can get a little bit more value, sometimes it just screws you over and kills your own units, but it's certainly a lot of fun. Marauders did decently well. 91 kills on Marauders, not bad at all. You can see the champions, though, definitely just powering through. 153 and 154. Very impressive kill totals. The Chariots, you know, the Chariots, the Manticores, the Mammoths, they didn't get very impressive kill totals themselves, but the disruption, you know, the occupying the ranged units, the terror, just knocking dwarves left and right and just keeping them from attacking or firing, that in and of itself is very useful, and it's largely what helped these other units to perform so well. You can see all these Marauders actually got pretty impressive kill totals considering they're up against the dwarves. For my opponent here, I know A-Move Hacker's a big fan of the full stack dwarves. I think maybe in this matchup it's tough. You know, bringing a cannon or two might be helpful, but at the same time, you know, Norsca is relatively fast and has some pretty good fast attack units. They can get on your artillery potentially, so it can be a bit risky, but I do think that maybe 1 or 2 cannons could have benefited him greatly here. They would have done a ton of damage to the Chariots and could have potentially taken them out before they got so many kills in melee. But it's tough, you know, it's definitely a tough matchup, and A-Move is one of the better dwarf players that I know, so who am I to criticize his builds? But anyway, very fun stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed watching. If you do like this sort of content, be sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification button, so every time I upload a new video, you'll be notified. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time.